This is Ace Rimmer. What a guy. This is David Spade, American actor. And this, if I've rigged this correctly, is the Ace of Spades. Contrary to popular belief, not the only card you need. But have you ever wondered why the Ace of Spades looks like that? This is the Ace of Diamonds. This is the Ace of Clubs. This is the Ace of Hearts. To ensure this is not a fluke, Ace of Spades, Ace of Diamonds, Ace of Clubs, Ace of Hearts. Have you ever wondered why the Ace of Spades has these ornate designs on it? There's all the other cards, all the other aces, just the suit. In 1588, Queen Elizabeth I granted a monopoly on the manufacture of playing cards to Ralph Bowes. He almost certainly paid rather handsomely for that monopoly. It was the first time the government of Great Britain had imposed a tax of sorts on playing cards. Over 100 years later, that monopoly had ended. In 1711, a duty of 6p per pack was applied to each deck of cards. That duty caused the price of playing cards to rocket 10 or potentially 23-fold overnight. Freddos in the modern age have gone from 10p 20 years ago to 35p now. If the same level of duty had been applied to Freddos, they would have gone from 10p to as much as £2.30 overnight. It would be the equivalent of paying about £25 for a deck of cards. All these decks here, I've got 5 decks, cost me less than £10. The card makers became liable for the tax. They started stamping the cards to prove they were the real deal, and the tax had been paid. The cards weren't mass-produced in the way we would imagine them today. So the cards you would buy from one shop in London would be made in that shop, and cards in another shop, a few streets away, would be made in that shop. So a human would be stamping them. It was often the Ace of Spades, as that was the first card you would see when opening the box and pulling out the top card. By 1765, that system wasn't good enough. Instead, what the card makers had to do was supply blank card with their rears already printed, and the duty office would stamp the ace and then sell the card back to the manufacturer, thus collecting the tax. They used intricate designs to try and prevent forgery, just like we do nowadays with banknotes. And the ace they stamped became known as the duty ace. People such as Richard Harding and John Backlin were sentenced to death for forging aces. It was tax evasion, which governments treat rather seriously. The duty ace lasted until 1862. The last official design was known as Old Frizzle. After 1862, manufacturers could print their own aces. They could have quite happily gone to something simple like the Ace of Clubs, Hearts and Diamonds, but many of them chose to stick with what had by this point become a traditional ornate design of some description. 98 years later, in 1960, the tax on playing cards was abolished. Some manufacturers, even today, like Waddington's, have their cards in a duty wrapper, partly for tradition, partly for security. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.